Professor Remus John Lupin, Order of Merlin First Class, was a half-blood wizard who was afflicted with lycanthropy from a very young age. He fought in both wizarding wars and was one of the original members of the Order of the Phoenix. This is the life of Remus Lupin. Remus was born March 10th, 1960 to Lyall and Hope Lupin. Lyall was a ministry employee and was extremely prejudiced against werewolves. He had a heated encounter with werewolf Fenrir Greyback, which only strengthened his hatreds toward the species, openly stating that Greyback and all werewolves in general deserved nothing but death. As a means of revenge for the disrespect of his kind, Greyback decided to target Lyall's son, Remus, who was just short of 5 years old. As the boy slept, Greyback entered his room through the window in werewolf form and bit him, infecting young Remus with lycanthropy, despite the best efforts of his father to drive Fenrir away. Lyall and Hope took young Remus to various healers over the years, but unfortunately could not find a cure. Remus was accepted into Hogwarts despite his condition. In fact, Headmaster Albus Dumbledore made special accommodations for him to make his transformations less stressful in terms of where they could take place, as to keep his lycanthropy a secret. An abandoned house was made available for Remus at the end of each month. However, due to his screams from the pain of his transformations, villagers of Hogsmeade mistook them for the wailing of a ghost, giving it the nickname of the Shrieking Shack. Dumbledore fueled these rumours in order to divert attention away from the shack's true purpose. Lupin was sorted into Gryffindor House, where he befriended James Potter, Sirius Black and Peter Pettigrew, collectively known as the Marauders. At the beginning, Remus made up stories for his absence in fear of their rejection at the fact he was a werewolf. Instead of deserting him, however, the three boys went beyond just accepting his condition. They learned to become animagi in order to accompany Remus on his transformations, as werewolves had no desire to attack other animals. James and Sirius were large enough animagi to keep Lupin in check, and over time, he became tame. He gained the nickname of Moony due to his transformations at the beckoning of the full moon. Along with his friends, Remus helped create the Marauders map, a special map that allowed the holder to see the location of everyone on the Hogwarts grounds. The map lasted long after the boys left school and made its way into the hands of the Weasley twins, followed by Harry Potter himself. Remus did perform well in school, even making prefect, although he still struggled to assert discipline over his close friends. After his graduation, Remus immediately joined the Order of the Phoenix, led by Albus Dumbledore, in order to fight Lord Voldemort and his Death Eaters in what was to become the First Wizarding War. Remus could not find a job due to anti-werewolf laws and prejudice against his condition, but James Potter did use his wealth to financially support his friend. By the height of the war, Sirius Black's concern at its effects did increase his paranoia, and he had grown to distrust Remus, suspecting he may be a spy for Voldemort, hence why when the plan was hatched to protect the Potters and young Harry, he was left outside the loop, although he was aware that a Fidelis charm was being used. He had no idea of the switch of the Secret Keeper either. Lupin was north of the country on business for the Order when the Potters were killed. It was the beginning of the most traumatic experience of his life, as he would lose everyone that was close to him in a matter of just 2 days. James and Lily were dead. Peter Pettigrew he believed was dead, and his friend Sirius imprisoned as a killer and a traitor. His mother died then shortly after, and Remus became very lonely and extremely unhappy. He felt his mere existence as a werewolf was purely a nuisance to his parents during his childhood, therefore he did not want to disturb his father's now peaceful life. His life would get even worse from here on in, as he would be forced to work low-key, poorly paid jobs, which he would then have to leave after his lycanthropy started to become obvious. He found a glimmer of hope, however, with the creation of the Wolfsbane potion. It was quite expensive though, and he risked revealing himself to the public. He also couldn't make it from scratch due to the complex nature of the potion and once again the cost of the ingredients. By the early 1990s, Lupin was now living in poverty in a rundown cottage in Yorkshire. He was tracked down by Albus Dumbledore in the summer of 1993 and offered the position of Defence Against the Dark Arts Professor at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Lupin was hesitant and unsure at first, until Albus mentioned the endless supply of Wolfsbane potion that would be available courtesy of Severus Snape, Potions Master. Remus travelled to Hogwarts via the Hogwarts Express, which was unusual as it was normally just for students. Most likely it was because of his poor wealth. It was on board this train that Lupin first met Harry Potter, son of his once closest friend James. Harry tried to wake him at first when the food trolley came by, but to no avail. However, Remus swiftly awoke at the presence of a Dementor who was searching the cabin for Sirius Black. He used a non-corporal Patronus to fight the Dementor off, giving the children some chocolate afterwards to help the after effects of the creature's presence. Later that evening, during the introductions at the opening banquet, Remus didn't receive much enthusiasm or applause after the announcement of his role as Defense Against the Dark Arts Professor was made, but from his heroics on the train, Harry, Ron and Hermione knew they had a skillful teacher. Although the students were not made aware of Lupin's condition, the staff however were told. As a professor, Remus managed to keep the children's interests with his hands-on approach and had shown far more control and competence during his lessons. During his lesson on Boggarts, Remus's Boggart was a full moon, mistaken by all for a crystal ball, except Hermione Granger, who discovered he was a werewolf and chose to keep his secret. When Lupin realises Harry's struggle with the aspect of fear in general, he gave the boy private lessons in producing a Patronus. His main concern was that the horrors of Harry's past would be overly appealing to Dementors. While his teaching was first class, some students, all from Slytherin, sniggered and sneered at the professor's poor appearance and shabby clothing. However, he ignored their comments. He eventually came across the map he and his friends created many years before, confiscating it after Snape brought it to his attention. Remus, angry that Harry was the person to which Snape had confiscated it from originally, deemed it far too dangerous to use, knowing that the secret passages would be exactly how Sirius would travel about the castle. It was through the map, however, that he learned the true fate of Peter Pettigrew and made it his intent to reunite with Sirius in order to kill their former friend for his betrayal and clear Sirius's name. However, Harry Potter convinced the men to hand Wormtail over to the Ministry, as it's what his father would have wanted. They agreed, but due to the planning and somewhat worry over how the events would turn out, Remus forgot to take his Wolfsbane potion, meaning he couldn't retain his own human mind. Sirius had to change into his Animagus form to keep Remus from attacking the children, which made it very easy for Peter Pettigrew to escape and rejoin his master. Parents had learned of the attack and the fact that Lupin was a werewolf. Because of this, he resigned from his position, much to the students' and staff's protest. They had really warmed to him and his kind, thoughtful manner. He left the Marauder's map with Harry and the invisibility cloak he borrowed, parting ways as friends. Remus returns over a year later after the events of the Triwizard Tournament to rejoin the Order of the Phoenix, after it's become clear that Voldemort is rebuilding his forces. He took residence in 12 Grimmauld Place, but was continuously away on business for the Order. It was around this time that he had begun to become acquainted with Nymphadora Tonks, due to their involvement with the Order. The two became quite close, but feeling he could never be good enough, Remus done his best to avoid and sadly reject her love, purely due to him having no self-worth. He participated with several other members of the Order in the Battle of the Department of Mysteries, and was one of only 3 left unscathed from the fight, proving his exceptional dueling skills by defeating several Death Eaters, Lucius Malfoy included. However, his success didn't come without great cost, as he witnessed his closest friend, Sirius Black, be pushed through the veil by Bellatrix Lestrange, something that left him devastated and distraught. He saved Harry Potter's life by stopping the young boy from diving through the veil after Sirius, being unaware of its true nature. Sometime afterwards, Lupin became a spy for the Order, living among fellow werewolves and visiting them in forests in an attempt to convince them to join Dumbledore's side. Sadly, they had been permanently etched with fear by the intimidating Greyback, and the plan was ineffective. The following year, Remus fought in the Battle of the Astronomy Tower, where he narrowly avoided death at the hands of Thorfinn Rowell. He was devastated at the news of Dumbledore's death, and the whole aftermath led him to finally accept the love of Nymphadora, and the pair married discreetly soon after in the north of Scotland, given the public prejudice against werewolves at the time. In July of 1997, Remus then participated in the operation to remove Harry Potter from Privet Drive and transport him to the Burrow. In what would be called the Battle of the Seven Potters, Lupin guarded George Weasley in disguise as Harry Potter. Although George was injured unintentionally by Snape, they arrived at the Burrow safely. However, Remus was deeply concerned at the late arrival of his wife Tonks, who was aggressively pursued by her aunt Bellatrix Lestrange, who was under the instruction to prune her family tree by Lord Voldemort. Tonks arrived safely to her husband's relief. Remus suffered huge anguish and fear at the news that Tonks had fallen pregnant, convinced that he alone had doomed his son to a cursed life. It's best summed up with the quote, "Don't you understand what I've done to my wife and unborn child? I should have never married her. I've made her an outcast. And the child, my kind don't usually breed. It will be like me. I am convinced of it. How can I forgive myself when I knowingly risked passing on my own condition to an innocent child? And if by some miracle it is not like me, then it will be better off, 100 times so, without a father of whom it should always be ashamed." He actually considered leaving Tonks and their unborn child out of shame until a confrontation with Harry Potter led him to finally see sense. He joined his wife and witnessed the birth of their son, Teddy, and asked Harry to be the godfather. Remus then participated in the Battle of Hogwarts alongside Kingsley Shacklebolt, Arthur Weasley and many others. He organised and led groups to fight off Death Eaters with success at first. However, due to months of solely using protective and concealment charms in order to protect his wife and newborn son, Remus had not practiced nor stayed sharp with a wand. He lost his life to Antonin Dolohov in the main courtyard, sadly followed by his wife, who was killed by Bellatrix Lestrange. His body was laid out beside Tonks, keeping them together in death also. His last words were to Harry Potter after his death, telling him his son would know what he died for, and hoped one day he would understand. Remus Lupin left behind a hero's legacy. He gave his life in the hope that the tyrannical reign of Lord Voldemort could be stopped. He died at the hands of evil, so that good could one day triumph. That is all for today, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at InstaDeanJ. If you want to watch any of my other videos, there on the left hand side of the screen. My second channel is on the top right, and my merchandise store is on the bottom right. Thank you very much again for watching. I do appreciate you taking the time out, and please let me know what you think of this video in the comment section below. Thanks again, and have a great day.